On February 11th, 2019, the Oklahoma City Thunder were 37-19. They firmly held the 3rd seed in the Western Conference, pushing towards the 2nd seed, trying to catch up with Denver and Golden State. Now, nearly 2 months later, they are now, well, they've lost a lot of games. Since that day, they've went 8-14. Now, as of this video, their record is 45-33. They've pretty much collapsed, and now they're fighting with the Spurs for the 7th or 8th seed. I mean, this does give us the opportunity to see a potential first-round matchup between the Thunder and the Warriors, which is, it's cool. We've been waiting for years for this. But honestly, with the way the Thunder have been playing recently, it's gonna be a sweep. Anyway, how's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today we're gonna take a look at how the Thunder totally collapsed in the second half of the season. What in the world is going on, and can they actually compete in the playoffs? Or is it just gonna be the same story again and another first-round exit? This video is sponsored by Ridge Wallets. The Ridge Wallet is a minimal, front pocket wallet that's designed to let you ditch your bulky wallet. This wallet is slim, RFID blocking, and lifetime guaranteed. It comes in titanium, carbon fiber, aluminum, polycarbonate, and with over a dozen different styles and colors. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping by going to ridgewallet.com/Andy. First off, we gotta understand how the Thunder got off to a great start in the first place. And a huge part of that credit should go to Paul George. At the beginning of the season, he was killing it. He was an MVP candidate. He was playing the best basketball of his career. At one point, he was averaging like 29 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.3 steals, and shooting 41% from 3, which was a career high. But then, a couple weeks later, he got injured. Reports said that it was shoulder soreness or a slight shoulder injury, which, you know, at the time, everyone thought, well, whatever. It's not that bad, it's insignificant. But shoulder injuries can be pretty damn bad. Not as bad as knee injuries, but it could have drastic effects on a guy like George, who takes a ton of jump shots. And from what we've seen, George has definitely slowed down. Although he only missed 3 games due to that shoulder injury, he was still very slow coming back. In the 15 games after he came back from that injury, his shooting has plummeted, as he shot only 40% from the field and 35% from 3 in those 15 games. The injury still seems to be a slight issue, although to be fair, George does have a history of starting off the season super hot, and then as the season progresses, he kinda falls off a bit every year. But either way, George's fall-off had a drastic impact on the Thunder's offense. Now, OKC, their offense wasn't that good to begin with. In the early part of the season, they were hovering around 13th or 14th in offensive rating, which is around the middle of the pack. But now, in the last 2 months, they've dropped down to 18th. Their defensive rating also dropped from 2nd to 4th. So, did this drop-off really cause them to go 8-14 in their last 21 games? Even though their offense sucks, they're still a very dominant defensive team. So, what else could it be? Well, their schedule has also gotten a lot harder. In those 21 games from February 14th to now, April 3rd, 15 of those 21 games were against playoff teams. That's a lot harder than at the start of the season, where they were feasting on a lot of teams that were just really bad. That still does not excuse their losses to like Memphis or Dallas or New Orleans, but despite those teams' records, they're still very competitive. Besides the fact that the majority of the Thunder roster has been underperforming, there's a bright side too. A few players stepped up tremendously. Russell Westbrook was awful during the start of the season. I mean, yeah, he was still getting triple-doubles and all that, but his shooting was just plain awful, to the point where it really messed up the entire offense. However, in the second half of the season, Westbrook has picked it up and played a lot better. Since February 14th, Westbrook has been averaging over 27 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, shooting 46% from the field and 35% from 3. That's an MVP caliber stat line, but even so, the team has been losing. It's really strange when you look at it this way. I mean, you'd expect the team to be doing a lot better since Westbrook is playing better, but that's not the case. I know some people are gonna say that, oh, even if Westbrook's playing better, he's still not doing well. He's still throwing up bad shots at the end of games, all that stuff. There is some truth to that, but the main reasons are, it all goes back to the reasons I said before. The harder schedule and other players slumping, especially Paul George. Another player who's been playing exceptionally well is Jeremy Grant. This season, he magically has a 3-point shot now. Over the last 20 games or so, he's been shooting 42% from 3. But even with his improvement too, it still has not offset the other issues. With that being said, there are some inherent problems with the Thunder's offense. Problems that they haven't fixed in the last few years and probably never will. They're still running the same high pick and rolls, the same ISOs for Westbrook and George. It's similar to what they did when Durant was there, except now, over the last couple months, they've been trying to rely on beating down teams on offense. Relying on all their players to make their shots consistently, which hasn't worked out because, well, OKC simply does not have consistent shooters. You might see George or Westbrook or Terrence Ferguson or Dennis Schroeder go off sometimes, but shooting-wise, they're not as good as Golden State or Houston or Toronto. In fact, they're only 23rd in the league in three-point percentage. Yet they're trying to beat down other teams by launching a ton of shots. That's different than in the beginning of the season when they were relying on their defense first and foremost. Their strict man-to-man defense. Cutting off the passing lanes, leading the league in deflections, these were the things that were winning them games. And obviously, they're still a good defensive team, but they've been slowly moving away from that. If they could go back to what they were doing before, I think they still have a decent shot at getting past the first round. Unlikely, but it's possible. Depending on who they face, between the Nuggets or Warriors, I'd still say the Nuggets are more vulnerable. Strictly because they don't have as many superstars or as much experience. The 8th seed and the 1st seed are only separated by like 7 or 8 games, so it's not as big of a gap as people think. And that's all, folks. That sums up how the Oklahoma City Thunder totally collapsed after the All-Star break. I think we all expected much more. With Paul George putting up MVP numbers and with Westbrook bouncing back, they're still gonna finish with about the same record as the last 2 seasons. Let me know your thoughts on the team and what are your predictions in the first round. Anyway, thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.